Just about a week ago, I made a video talking about the Osee T7 monitor, which I have right here, and I said that it's one of the best on-camera monitors on the market, and I stand by that statement. But a lot of people have asked, well, how about something like the Portkeys BM5, which has a handful of similar specs, but is definitely different in a lot of ways, but it's also very popular, and I myself have been using it for quite a while. So instead of just answering all of those comments one by one, I thought today I'll take a deep dive and explain all of the similarities and differences between these two monitors and kind of hopefully help you to make your decision if you're trying to decide which one of these would best suit your style. So let's get into it. Hey, I'm Scott and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, thank you for watching. Please do consider subscribing and hitting the little bell icon under the video to make sure that you get notifications when new content is uploaded. If you want to see full reviews for either of these monitors, I will have links on screen at some point and also down in the video description, so you can check out those as well. So like I said, we're going to take a real deep dive into the similarities and differences between these two monitors, so this has the potential to become a slightly long video. So I'll put a timeline up on screen right now in case you want to jump ahead and see anything in particular. So we're just going to start right out with the basics, and the most obvious difference between these two monitors is the size. You got the Portkeys, which is a 5 or just around 5-inch monitor, and then you got the Osee, which is a 7-inch monitor. So you can see here the size difference in both the monitor itself and in the screen. Now, if a 5-inch monitor or a 7-inch monitor is better for you is really going to be up to your personal use and your personal taste. For me, if I can afford it, I will definitely take a 7-inch monitor over a 5-inch monitor any day. It just makes it easier to frame up your shot, to get focus and everything like that. But if I do need something with a lower profile, like if I'm going onto a gimbal or something like that, then a 5-inch monitor can definitely help. But again, it's going to depend on you just in terms of the situations you plan to use them in, which is going to be better for you in terms of pure size. With that being said though, although the Osee is a 7-inch monitor and the Portkeys is a 5-inch monitor, the weight is not all that different. I think that the Osee is a little bit heavier, but it's of course, like I said, larger. It's very solid. It is plastic on the outside. It's a polycarbonate. It's a high quality plastic. Don't let that word scare you. And there is an aluminum kind of sheet inside, they call it, where the actual monitor mounts are built into, so that way it's really, really rugged, even though it does have that lighter weight polycarbonate casing on the outside. The Portkeys, on the other hand, is pretty much solid metal, and I mean, it feels really great, and if you're planning to beat up your monitor, this one might take a little bit more, but in terms of build quality and everything like that, they're not going to be drastically different. Now, another big difference between these monitors is the connections, and this gets a little bit complex because the BM5 has HDMI in, but no HDMI out. However, it does also have SDI ports on the back, in and out, and it can cross-convert that HDMI in to the SDI out. So if you need cross conversion, that's going to be the way to go. The Osee T7 has only HDMI ports, but it does have HDMI in and HDMI out, which, whether or not you have SDI connections on the back, having that HDMI out is often very convenient. So it's nice that they have both on there. And the Osee G7, the big brother, does also have SDI ports, so it has HDMI in and out, as well as SDI in and out. But I don't think that it cross-converts the signal. I'm not positive on that, so don't take my word on it. But in terms of connections, it's kind of a mixed bag here. They do also both have a single battery slot for Sony MPF batteries and the option to power them from external power. Now, that also differs just a little bit as well. The BM5 has a 4-pin LEMO connection on the back for that power cable, and it comes with a couple when you buy it. It comes with, I believe, a D-tap cable as well as one with a DC barrel on the other side. And the Osee has just a standard DC barrel on the back to power it from an external source. And this also does come with a couple of cables when you buy it. It comes with one for wall power, and it comes with one for a D-tap, and they're also a lock-in connection. It's not, like a LEMO connection, but it does have screw threads on there, so you can lock that in there if you need to. Taking all of these ports and connections and everything into consideration, for me, still the choice would be with the T7. I don't often need SDI with the cameras that I work with. If I did, then I would probably go for the G7 because that is still just a great monitor otherwise. But for me, having that HDMI out definitely helps in some situations. So I like to have that there. And also the standard DC cable on the back for external power is nice to have because if anything happens, I'm much more likely to have an extra DC cable in my bag than a 4-pin LEMO cable. So it's nice to have that locking cable, and I do like the locking cable that this comes with. It's really nice. But in terms of flexibility, I think just a standard DC port is going to be a little bit more flexible for external power. Another thing when talking about their actual physical build is the way to mount these monitors. Now the BM5 has a 1/4 screw thread in the bottom and the top, and it also has these kind of slits on the monitor instead of just single holes for RE locating pins. But they're not very deep. So if you do have proper RE pin connections, then you're going to have to file them down quite shallow to really fit in here. But something like this NATO rail that I have on the bottom here, which is not meant for this, particularly for this monitor, but it does fit. It has these little bumps that fit right into those slots there, and it has that anti-twist design there. So a single screw, but it's anti-twist. So if you want to put this in a tilt-twist monitor mount, you can grab it and it's not going to come loose, which is really nice. The Osee, on the other hand, has a 1/4 screw thread with RE locating pins, with holes for RE locating pins for that anti-twist monitor mount solution. But I've actually had a slightly hard time finding mounts for this. I think Nitsy has a couple options and they might have more coming out. I did find this NATO rail from Small Rig that I kind of chopped and modded a little bit, and it does have a 1/4 screw with the RE locating pins. That's the spacing of them if you're curious. But the pins were a little bit long on this plate, so I had to file down those pins in addition to cutting this plate in half. I think they actually have some other better options. I think that the rails, the mounting plates that come with the kit for the Ninja V actually would probably fit here. I haven't tried them, but they probably fit here. You might have to file those RE locating pins down a little bit again, but generally this can work. And also, like I said, Nitsy does have some options that do match this and fit this without any modifications, so those are a good way to go as well. Another difference is going to come down to brightness. And now, well, just the spec wise, this is 3000 nits on the Osee side, 2000 or just over 2000 nits on the Portkeys side. That's not going to be drastically different, but what is different is the fact that the Portkeys can get very hot when you're using it on high brightness. And that means that you have to use the fan. The fan in here has 3 levels and you can set that yourself. So you don't have to use the fan, but if you don't, it's going to get hot. And when you do use the fan, it's very loud, especially at that highest setting. There are 3 settings for the fan, 3 settings for the brightness. The Osee is silent even on its highest brightness, and it doesn't get hot. It might get warm, but it doesn't get hot. And also, while the Portkeys has 3 levels of brightness, the Osee has, I believe it's 10 levels of brightness. So you can really dial that in to get just the right amount of brightness that you need in any particular situation without over draining your batteries. Now, another huge difference, and one of the biggest that has the biggest impact overall for me between these two monitors besides the size, is the operating system. And I mean both in terms of the software, the menus, as well as how you physically use and navigate through these monitors. Now the Portkeys is pretty standard. It has a pretty basic menu system. It's not awesome, it's not terrible. Some things do annoy me, like the fact that the fan settings and the brightness settings are in different parts of the menu, so you have to choose one, back out, go to the other section, choose that, and you know, when you make adjustments to brightness with this monitor, you're probably going to be making adjustments to the fan as well, so I just wish that that was in the same menu. But you have to do all of that with this scroll and click wheel here, and it can be a little bit annoying, I guess you could say. It's not the worst, like I said, but it's, you know, basic. There's nothing special about it. It is also a touchscreen, and while you can't really navigate the menu with a touchscreen, you can, for example, bring up the custom functions and turn those on and off. And you have 4 that you can map to either the touchscreen options or these physical buttons on the top here. So that's pretty standard in terms of monitors as well. You have those 4 custom functions. You can set them to whatever you use the most. But if you want to use something that's not programmed to one of those 4 custom functions, you can either switch to a different user profile, which have 4 different custom functions programmed, or you can actually just go and remap those buttons, but that's pretty much all you can do. Customization of those tools though is pretty easy. You can just hold down one of these buttons and it will bring up a submenu where you can customize all of those, and there is a good level of customization for each of these tools in the Portkeys monitor, as well as a good number of overall quality tools. So in terms of what's actually in here, it's going to be fairly similar across the board between these two. There are some small differences, but generally speaking, how you're going to access those tools and the amount that you can really have quick access to is definitely limited when you compare it to something like the Osee. Using the Osee with a single joystick, it's not a touchscreen, it's just got a single joystick, but it's really easy because they have this page system where you can set up to 8 custom tools in 8 custom pages, and you can just scroll back and forth between them. So that means you can have a handful of tools like your aspect ratio markers, your focus peaking, your center marker, things like that, all on one page, and you can have things on another page like your false color, your waveforms, and you can just, with one push of a button, go between like 5 tools and 5 different tools at the single click of a button. I mean, it takes seconds, and that's incredibly, incredibly useful. Of course, within those pages, you can go in and turn each of those tools on and off as well. Like if you just want to turn off only your aspect ratios, you can do that very quickly as well, just with a click of a button. But it's just really, really quick, and you're really not limited at all in the number of quick access custom functions that you can set into this. It's just a matter of putting them in different pages according to how you're going to use the monitor. But where you have basically 4 custom functions here. I mean, you could set different user profiles, but then you have to open the menu, go into the menu, find that, switch the user profile, and it still takes time. With this, literally with a couple clicks of the button, you can be, totally different groups of tools. And it's just, yeah, I've said that in pretty much every one of my videos that's related to this monitor, but it's just amazing. Finally, I can't really leave out the elephant in the room, the fact that the Portkeys BM5 does have camera control option. It's got this little recessed port in here that you can have your cable connected to your camera, and you can use the touchscreen to actually control your camera. Now, for example, with the Z Cam, you can't exactly touch the menu physically, but you get kind of a display with buttons similar to what's on the physical body of the camera, and you can use those buttons with the touchscreen instead of actually having to touch the camera. And that can definitely be useful for certain workflows or for certain people, but in all honesty, I never use it. I used it for a while when I first got this, and it's cool, it's nice to have as an option, but especially on a smaller 5-inch monitor, it just takes up too much real estate. And even though you can turn it on and turn it off with a custom function button, that means now you only have 3 other custom tools you can set. And just, I don't know, it felt like a little bit more hassle than it was really worth to me. I really don't mind just using the physical controls on the camera. Again, for different people or different workflows, that might be more important. But if you're really worried, I need camera control, I'm not sure, but that's like your main reason for buying the Portkeys, I'd say don't worry about it. It's overrated. Now, last but not least is the price, and this is also a little bit complex because the Osee T7 comes in at about $425 at the moment. The BM5 comes in at about $500. But of course, we talked about the fact that the BM5 does have SDI connections. It doesn't have HDMI out, but it does have SDI connections. So if you want the SDI version, the G7 from Osee, then it's going to cost a little bit over $700. But again, that has both SDI in and out and HDMI in and out, as well as being 7 inches and 3000 nits with no fan. And it also has that really great, really easy, really fast operating system. So I think that price kind of balances out there. And if you only need HDMI, then it's going to be cheaper than the Portkeys, even though it has the larger, brighter display with the better operating system. So for me, I mean, those things all factor into the fact that I think this is definitely the best value monitor on the market. That doesn't mean that the Portkeys is a bad monitor. It's just a different monitor. It's smaller. It's going to be louder if you use the fan. It doesn't have as good of an operating system. It's only 2000 nits compared to 3000. There's really not going to be much of a difference there, actually. And it is what it is. But for me, just the operating system, the price, the size, everything that is built into this monitor for a price that for the T7 is cheaper than the BM5 absolutely just blows me away. It's a fantastic monitor, but both of these are. So hopefully this video could give you some idea of kind of the key differences. Of course, the way that the actual assist tools and stuff are designed are a little bit different. But for the most part, those are the big differences between these two monitors, the things that I think you should be aware of if you're going to be considering one or the other, and hopefully this could answer some of your questions. But if you have any other remaining questions about either of these monitors, let me know down below, and I will do my best to get back to you. As always, thanks for watching.